Hello and welcome everyone to my channel. First of all, let me wish all of you a happy new year. And then we are continuing with the model games and what a model game we have today. So it's a game played between Grandmaster Yuri Averbakh and Boris Spassky. So after whom this variation was named. Averbakh is playing with the white pieces. So let's see how this game went. So it started c4, knight f6, knight c3, g6, e4. It's extremely usual way also to get the King's Indian, d6, d4, bishop g7, bishop e2, castle, bishop g5. So this is the Averbakh system. Black played c5, d5, and queen a5. So queen a5 is a rare move already. Obviously, it has a very basic trap to take on e4 and use the pin on the c3 knight, but I would say our move is also very typical, so we just play bishop d2. We are neutralizing this pin and stopping any knight e4 ideas, and we are keeping the position very, very stable. Black played a6, and again, our most typical reaction to this a6 when black is thinking about some b5 sacrifice is just to play a4 and make it borderline impossible for him to do that. And as I was looking older games in this variation, I was a little bit surprised that quite a few very strong players in this position went e5 with black. Of course, it's long time ago. Theory was not well established, but e5 just somehow looks wrong. I mean, it's a very standard move in most of the King's Indian positions and variations and so on, but in this particular case against this is the move which against the Averbakh was designed basically. So our knight is not on f3. We are ready to go with a very, very unpleasant plan against this e5 move here. And of course, Averbakh played perfectly. So g4. So this is the key move. It's a so-called fake attack, rather. So it's not like we want to push pawns and checkmate black's king. I mean, if black is doing his part in that, then it's not impossible, but that's not the main goal. The main goal is simply to close the king side and then win the game on the queen side, where we have the space advantage thanks to this pawn on d5. So black played knight e8, where the idea is to push f5, and white played h4, f5, and h5. So once again, everything is according to the plan. And this is now decision time for black. So does he want the queen side, the king side, to be opened, or he will just close everything and then suffer on the queen side? I mean, both options are quite horrific, to be honest. So let's just see a few moves. So if black continues development with knight d7, for example, then we don't have to close anything. It's time to go for a checkmate. So we just open both of these files, G and H, and even take on f5. So just make everything as open as possible. And let's say knight f6, queen c2, followed by playing long castle, knight f3, rook dg1. I mean, the position is completely losing for black. Our king is safe, and the g8 king, and all these black's ideas on the king side are completely gone. So this is not good. Black can also play knight f6 to bring back the knight, and here we have many promising opportunities and options. So I like h6 the best to force the bishop to h8, and this pawn can be pretty unpleasant for black. And after gf, again, just making the position wide open. Next move is to play knight h4 to kick this bishop, and then we can play queen c2 long castle. Position is just collapsing with black, so also not good. So Spassky, I believe, chose relatively the best move, but that is also no full position. So he played f4, at least not allowing this huge attack from white. And normally, what we see in King's Indian or this Averbakh system is that closing the king side happens like f3. Okay, black plays g5, for example, knight h3, h6, and then we will put king to g2. Knight will come over to d3, and our idea is to push for b4 and win on the queen side. Sorry, but here it's even better, and Averbakh, of course, uses this possibility that he could play even g5. So it's also possible to close the position like with h6, I mean, if needed. But for now, there is this nice positional idea to trade the bishop, which is very much restricted by our central pawns. So it's just an amazing plus which was available for white here. So black goes queen d8, attacking the pawn, but then bishop g4. Trading the bishop, of course, queen g5 is not possible because c8 bishop is hanging, knight c7, bishop takes, queen takes, knight f3. And this position, I believe, the game is over. So after move 16, the 10th world champion Boris Spassky is completely lost here. Like, he has absolutely no chance, I would say, to save this game if the game goes, in a normal, in this fashion how it started. Absolutely no chance. So, for example, he's worse on both sides. So here we can play some a5 and then later push for b4, but the bigger problems are actually on the g6 square and on the king side in this position. So, I mean, I just looked at move like a5, we played knight h4, queen e8, queen f3, for example, with ideas like doubling up on the h file, at some moment hg6, and then some sacrifice, we can even triple on the h file, and we can bring over this knight even to g4. I mean, we can do anything what we want because black has simply no play, he cannot do anything. So this is completely losing, and black's move is extremely remarkable, and it's a pretty famous move, and I mean, the game probably is not that famous, but this move is quite famous, and it's given sometimes even double exclamation mark, which, to be honest, I believe it's like, okay, objectively it's very hard to say that it's brilliant move, but brilliant concept, I would say. So at any cost, black is trying to change the course of the game, and that's the correct decision here. So if he lets white do his normal moves, no chance. So Spassky played this extremely remarkable and shocking knight to c6. Yeah, I mean, the idea is fantastic. I mean, unfortunately for black, the position is still completely losing after this move. I mean, after all, he will be down a piece, but at least something is going to change, and not all the minor pieces are going to be suffering. So yeah, it's an extremely remarkable concept, and I mean, it eventually worked out in the game. So now Averbakh 2 on c6. I mean, of course, knight d4 is not something we want to allow for no reason. I mean, piece is a piece, dc6, bc6, and here he went knight h4. I mean, again, we are up a full piece for a pawn, so it's not like we are going to spoil anything with any move, basically, for the near future with the white pieces. It's about what is the easiest way to convert this disadvantage. And I believe the easiest is to play h6. I really like this because now the bishop goes to h8. So it's not a piece down, but it's not doing that much. And now we play a5. I believe a5 is really important idea which was not used in the game, and this could have made things much easier for white. So the point is that what did black achieve with this sacrifice? That okay, this knight has some future via a6 and d4, and the rook has some future in the b file. But once we can put our knight to a4 and b6, both of those things are pretty much irrelevant, and slowly but surely white will even play b4 at some moment. So of course position is losing. It will require some work to break through, but I wouldn't say it's that difficult here. So it was kind of a key idea for white. Instead, knight h4 was played, queen e8, takes, queen g4. So white is just continuing this direct way of playing on the king side, and now rook b8. That's a little bit of an unpleasant move to face, because now there is no knight a4 to very comfortably protect the pawn and then jump to b6, but knight went back to b1, knight e6, rook a3, knight e4. So at least one piece is doing something for black. I mean, not that much, but it's active at least. So rook h3, queen f7, bishop to c3. And here black played rook f8. I mean, the position is already not that easy, because even though black is down a piece, I mean, our especially d1 knight is absolutely awful. And if you take on d4 at some moment, then those pawns can run somehow, like c takes d4, maybe d5 later, and some compensation. And even though this g7 bishop is regarding activity, it's absolutely horrible, but it stops rook h8 idea, so it's doing something. So Spassky went rook f8. d5 would have been an interesting move, I believe, just to create even more counterplay. And for example, the game could have continued like this, and then playing something like rook b8 with ideas like pushing e4 in the center. So now it's a full piece for black, but he has some activity, and according to the computer, he is doing the best up to this moment in the game. So before that, he was completely losing. I mean, it's still losing, but it's getting very complicated now. So despite down a piece, suddenly all pieces can be good. Even this bishop's diagonal is about to be open. So it was quite interesting. So instead, rook f8 was played, probably with ideas of d5 also, or maybe also giving the way for the king to run away. White played rook h2. I'm not so sure about this move. Maybe the idea was to play something like f3 and then the rook covered the second rank, or just a waiting move, saying that black cannot really do much anyways. And yeah, here Spassky went queen c4, which is objectively just losing. Maybe d5 was a little bit more tricky, but this is also losing. Sorry, not d5 right away, but first playing knight c2 check, king d2, knight a1, so something like this to play like this. But now f3 is coming, and again, not the easiest of the variations, but after knight takes on g6, white is crushing here, queen g6 and rook h6. So eventually we can get rid of this bishop, and then some queen h4 or queen h5 is coming in the next move, and white will win the black's queen and win the game. So instead, queen c4 was played, knight takes on g6, rook e6, and here a forced win was missed, maybe the easiest win in the game for white. But even for this, he should have calculated properly. So rook h8 is simply winning. I mean, it looks very easy. The first side, bishop h8, rook h8, king g7, then taking the rook. So basically we won another piece. I mean, rook g6, there is queen d7, and if king g6, I mean, the king is just going to get mated. I believe what white was afraid of is f3. It looks like that black is going to deliver a checkmate. Bishop d4 doesn't help because the pawn also helps, not only the knight with the mate. Queen is cut, but this knight is not taken, and that's the decisive moment here. So white has this nice move, knight f4, which finishes the game. So knight is attacking the rook and, more importantly, preventing the mate. And after ef, the diagonal is open, so there is just queen f3 with a full extra piece, and black has run out of resources. So this was a way to win. Bishop d4 was played, rook g6, queen f5. Of course, this position and endgame with the piece up still should be winning, but the pawns are coming in the center. f3, rook b3, and now rook h3 was played. Yeah, it's already a little bit tricky. I mean, I guess both were in time trouble and so on. It's not so easy. Of course, computer is saying, for example, that rook c2 is just winning, and but still c4 is coming probably, and black is keeping attention. Not so easy to activate the knight. But yeah, I mean the rook. I also understand that the rook belongs to c2 here, so f3 pawn is not that important. The main thing is to not to allow these pawns to be flexible. So basically d4, let's say bishop a5, rook f3. So it's great that black is taking a pawn, but after rook c5, these pawns are not going anywhere. They are stuck. And also the point after c4 is that whenever d4 comes, this bishop moves, and then c4 is a weakness. So it's a little bit, not a little bit, it's much tougher to push the pawns for black in such situation where the rook is attacking this key pawn on c4. So instead, this rook h3 is a little bit more materialistic, but it allows c4, king d2, rook g6, rook g1, d4. So you can see now that these pawns look super strong, controlling so many squares, and the c4 pawn also is safe because the rook is not on c2. So black is getting some play here. Bishop f8, rook g4, rook d6, king c2, rook d7, g6, rook b7. So bringing the rook over there, and like bishop e1 and c5. So one more pawn is coming. It already looks quite scary. Rook h4 and bishop g7, of course. Bishop goes back to e5. I mean, it's not easy to come up with anything for white. I mean, this is the extra piece stuck protecting on b2. The rooks are doing nothing. The bishop is kind of stalemating the rooks here, and actually white is not even better despite being a piece up. So bishop a5, c3. It's a nice move again, opening up possibilities for the rooks, bc, and now rook a3. And it's already white who has to be careful. So he is up a full piece here, but black's rooks are more active, and the pawns are more dangerous. So, and cd4, and again, very nice move. So cd4 would be materialistic to keep f4 protected, but it absolutely does not matter. ed4, and these guys are running, and white can lose this game. Rook f4, up a piece and the pawn, and probably in a worse position or in a very dangerous position. So rook a2 check, king d3, rook b1. Suddenly the knight cannot move anywhere, so the rook has to protect, and now rook a4. The pawn, I would say, is not even that important. The important is that the bishop is hanging and c4 is supported. So king c2, rook b5. And now white went e5. It's probably, I don't know what is the correct decision here, but moving the bishop somewhere is like c4 is coming, and then okay, rook a2, and basically white is getting checkmate. So white went for this e5, but even this is actually objectively already losing. So here d3 was played. and taking the rook on f4, which is tempting. But the best move was just rook taking this bishop, because even though this e pawn looks dangerous. So, for example, if something like I'm not so sure actually, d3, king takes on d3, rook f4, e7. Yes, so this is, if c4 check, then there is king e3 attacking the rook, and the pawn is promoting to a queen. So that's the problem here, and white is making the draw. So that's why d3 immediately is not so strong, but black has very strong c4. And now e7, and still have to be careful with black, because if rook goes to e5, then we lose very beautifully. Rook f8, bishop f8, and then rook h8, king h8, ef checkmate. But unfortunately, rook e5 is not forced by any means. So black gives a check on d3. King cannot go to the back rank. I mean, it can go, but it will not change anything actually. So king d2, rook a2. The point is that at some moment, I mean, okay, if king c1 here, then rook c2, king b1, and rook a1 is checkmate. So at some moment, the king has to go to the e file. And then, for example, rook e5, rook e4, rook e2. And black is collecting the e7 pawn with a completely winning position. So it was already losing for white. So instead, black went for this d3, king takes, rook f4. So now the roles changed again a little bit. So now black is up material, but finally white has something going on. So at least the knight can come out, and maybe the bishop can go back to c3. But of course it's still not enough. King e4, rook g3, king f4. And so it's a very instructive game in a way, because I don't know, maybe it's the fourth time or something when taking the material was the wrong decision, or protecting material and so on was incorrect. The main concept in this position was just to play rook d3 and completely block these pieces from getting active. There are ideas of playing rook b1. If the bishop moves, there is still rook b1 pinning the rook, and this is resignable. If the king comes back, there is c4, important move, and rook b1 is basically just finishing the game. So instead, black took this pawn, so now he's up an exchange and the pawn, but it's not easy again. So white has excellent chances to make a draw in this position. And okay, I did not analyze this position in such a huge depth, but it didn't even look like that black missed the win from this moment on. I mean, of course, he's much better and he has practical chances, but just the white pieces are coming alive. Rook b8, knight f5. This knight, which couldn't move, is suddenly doing big threats. Rook f8, rook h5, rook e8, king e4. All pieces are good. Of course, situation would be like completely different if those pawns would be connected, but when pawns are like this, the bishop is so comfortable of stopping both. So rook g1, rook h3, bishop f8, king d5. It's very hard to make progress with black. Also, all the time this e6 with rook h8 mate ideas even, so not easy. King e4, rook d7, and now white went for this rook knight h6, forcing a trade. And yeah, these pawns are just very weak, so probably this position is just a draw. Rook h7, rook d6, so giving a few checks and then going for the c pawn. And yeah, the end of the game is extremely instructive also. So rook b5. So this is a drawish position, but how Averbakh is drawing this is like, I don't think anyone would draw it like this, to be honest. I mean, I would say 95 out of 100 players would play just bishop b4 here, probably putting the bishop on d6 and try to wait. And hope for the draw, and let's see what Averbakh does. I just did a little bit of research in Wikipedia, and actually in 1956 he got this title of being a judge of endgame composition. So he was already into this, studies and solving this type of things or creating, and this is brilliant how he finished the game here. He played e6. Probably I would not even consider this move. Rook takes on e6, so just giving up a pawn for free. White plays king c5, attacking the pawn. Of course, bishop against rook is a theoretical draw. But black plays rook e5. And if we go king b4 or king d4, we are just losing the game. King will come to c6 eventually, and this pawn will win. But he played king b6. And the game finished here with the draw. Like, absolutely incredible concept. I have never seen anything like this before. So basically the idea is that black cannot make any progress. So the rook is stuck with protecting the pawn. The king cannot cross or get closer to the pawn like this because the pawn is getting taken. And if king e6, then simply there is bishop b4. I believe the easiest. And if king f5, so the king is trying to come like this, then bishop c5. So cutting the rook, and then taking the b pawn, which once again is just an easy draw. And therefore, after king b6, the players agreed to a draw. An extremely remarkable game. I only remembered from my childhood to this knight c6 idea, but many other interesting things happened, and it was also good to see, of course, that it was actually in the Averbakh variation, which I also didn't know. So yeah, it was quite a fascinating game for me. So thanks a lot for watching, and hope to see you soon with a new video.